Codependency refers to enabling and controlling behaviors, poor boundaries, and focusing on others' needs instead of your own. It is common in individuals with unresolved childhood trauma. Welcome to Normalize the Conversation. I'm your host, Francesca Reicherter, and today I'm joined by Anna Aslanian, a licensed marriage and family therapist in the states of California, Florida, and New York, and the founder and director of My Therapy Corner. In this episode, I talked with Anna about codependency, where it comes from, how it presents itself in current relationships, and the steps you can take to manage codependency in your relationship.
Anna, thank you so much for joining me today. I am super excited about our conversation, but before we begin, I just want to check in. How are you really?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you meeting with me today. I'm okay, just trying to be in the present and take it one day at a time,
Yeah, that's all we can do, one day at a time. I'm one of those people who sometimes tries to do too much at once and think too far in advance, and then I can't. Then I burn out, I get overwhelmed, I get frustrated, and nothing good happens. So being in the present and taking it one day at a time is the reminder I always need.
Yeah, exactly. I have to take on too much, just to slow down and can be so helpful.
Yeah, and enjoy the little moments. That's something I really struggle with. I kind of minimize all those small moments that lead up to the big moments and don't take time to appreciate it. And then when the big moments come, I'm like, oh, next big moment.
Yeah, it's almost like we're not in the present moment and just live with planning or worrying about the past. And really, when you look back, at your life, it's usually the little moments that end up being so significant. Just the accumulation of all of them, right? So, yeah, it's a good reminder for all of us just to slow down and appreciate the little things.
I was talking about this with my friend today because I kind of write a workbook every year and I get so excited about like the release of the workbook and then I immediately start working on the next one that I don't take time to enjoy that. And I also don't enjoy the progress along the way. So my friend's been checking in with me and is like, okay, how did today go? What did you accomplish? Making me not so focused on the goal and the end date, but what I'm doing along the way, because otherwise I
Mhm.
just kind of minimize it. Like I'm not doing enough. I invalidate all of the work that I've done. It's not fair.
Yeah. It's just about the journey, isn't it? Right. Just slow down and not the end result. I think that's very relatable to for all of us. I'm sure, that as a society, we really value accomplishments and the end goal, the results instead of the journey and the process. Um, and I think it's like it takes almost like training your brain to think about, wait, like, can I enjoy this process? Can I enjoy the journey? Right. And it's hard. It's really hard to do that.
It is really hard. And connecting that to therapy, we often tend to go into therapy thinking that, I don't know, at least for me in the beginning, I thought that it was going to be go in and it's like fix
Yeah.
the first session, everything's suddenly better. And it takes a lot of time just to build that connection to really determine what my actual goals for therapy are and how I'm really feeling, and then begin to do the work. And instead, I was always so focused on coming in with the problem, thinking that was the problem at the root, which it never was, and thinking that it was all going to be fixed by the end of session one.
Yeah, I think we're all guilty of that, and then you realize therapy is so much deeper than that and just takes time because we are complicated, multi-layered people, right? So just being patient and compassionate with ourselves in that process.
Yes, and learning to enjoy all the small wins along the way, all the small steps. I'm such a big step person and
Yeah. Yeah.
small steps. So
Glad
on
you're doing that, that's a good way to start. And I think just it'll get easier with time for all of us if we practice that every day and be more intentional. Mhm.
absolutely. So switching over to our topic, today we're going to talk about codependency for those listening. What is codependency?
So with codependency, historically, it was associated with certain behaviors and patterns of a person that was involved with another person who was struggling with addiction, alcoholism or something, or drug addiction. And so a lot of the behaviors were about controlling, being more focused about the other person and their behavior, their thought process, their well-being instead of their own. And now we understand that codependency is a lot bigger than just being a result of loving someone with addiction, right? Sometimes there is no addiction at all, and someone can have codependency traits or codependency, and it all sort of goes back to childhood attachment trauma, usually. I think, with my clinical work with many, many clients at this point, addiction or no addiction, doesn't matter. There's been a stigma around being labeled codependent, because people thought, well, that means I'm controlling, I'm needy, I'm manipulative, I don't have a life, I'm focusing on somebody else, right? So all these like negative things. And I think it takes, awareness and knowledge about what that truly means to realize this is a normal reaction to, an abnormal situation, whether that started in your childhood or with your partner or both, and also there's cultural components there too, where sometimes the society itself is sort of sending you the message that you need to be a certain way and put others in front of you. And, so it's so multi-layered that the first thing when I talk about codependency, the first thing I really want to emphasize with people is, stop with the like negative labels, right? And the feeling bad and that it's something wrong with me, I'm codependent, or, and instead, let's forget the labels and just look what's underneath that. And there is trauma, and there is, pain, and there is a need to feel loved and feel connected. And there is a need to help someone you love. And there's also this learned ways to cope with different situations that will hopefully keep you safe. Right. So all good intentions, all normal practices, considering the situation. Right. So I think we have to kind of look at it in that perspective.
It's so important to remove those negative labels and to recognize that, like you said, it's our brain's kind of normal reaction to something we've gone through. And I know something that comes up a lot for me is this fear of, will they love me, and how much do I need to do so that they love me, so that other people love me? And it all comes down to this unmet need as a child of feeling like I had to earn the love and work for the love, and not necessarily getting it because of emotional dysregulation from a loved one.
Yeah, it's such a learned thing, right? I mean, kids, the most important thing for them is that connection with a loved one. It's that acceptance, connection, acceptance, all that equals to love. Kids don't have the capacity to separate and to understand that someone might love me very much, but not have the capacity to be there for me as a mature adult, right? Or someone might love me, but struggle with connecting with me because of their own depression or because they never felt connected to their parents. Kids don't have that capacity to think that logically. A lot of adults don't, have that. So what they do is okay, what can I do to get that love, that connection, right? And they get this beautiful creative ways of getting that, and sometimes, most of the time, that could be things like people pleasing. That could be things like putting others in front of their own needs, because it gives them the results that the child needs to survive at that time, which is, I do everything you want me to do. I'm who you want me to be. And you accept me, you love me, you're happy with me in that moment. Good. I'll do that more. You see, and then kind of adds up through the years before we realize that, maybe this is not helping us anymore.
And that goes back to what you said about societal standards and expectations, the expectations other people set for us of who we should be, what we should look like, how we should behave. And that's where love's going to come from. And then when we get into relationships with other people and they don't want the same thing or they have a different expectation, it can be really confusing because now who am I? Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do so that this person loves me?
Exactly. Yeah, it can be confusing, right? And I think what's tough is sometimes people don't have the awareness. I mean, none of us will have the awareness unless we work on ourselves and try to, work out that muscle of emotional intelligence, ashamed of. But when we don't know, we just repeat the same patterns, repeat the same mistakes, repeat the same things, and feel the same way continuously and not understand what's happening or why.
Yes. If you don't know, it's so hard to make those changes. So for people listening who are wondering, is this something that I'm struggling with? What are some warning signs of codependency?
What are some warning signs? Some warning signs could be that, one person, whoever that person may be, is feels like that person is your everything, in a sense that, it's the most important thing. And I'm not talking about, by the way, like a mom with their newborn child, or like that's not that's normal in that context, right? Like your focus is on the baby. I'm talking about adult relationships, where you focus that, if we were to draw a pie chart, right, of your life and everything that's in it that's important for you. So for most people, if I were to draw a pie chart and just take out little pie pieces, right, of maybe I have my friends, maybe I have a little bit of, my work, and then I have, being in nature and my hobbies. Maybe I have my dog, maybe I have my family, and then I have my partner, and then I have my kids, right? So each one, they don't have obviously equal chunks, depending on what's more important for us, but we have several things on there. We have hobbies, interests, work, friends, partners, loved ones, all of that. If you do this exercise and you draw that pie chart and you ask yourself, what's most important for me? Okay, so maybe my hobbies take, I don't know, like 15% of my life, and my work is like 30, I don't know. And then you realize that this one person is like almost the entire thing, right? That's not good. We need to have more of a balanced interests, and not just one person that we expect to meet all our needs. So that's one thing to look at. Another thing is if you're really hyper focused on helping somebody else fix their problems, and analyzing them, why they're doing this, what are they thinking, trying to help them stop a problematic behavior, whatever that may be. That's that as well. Instead of kind of looking at what can I change? How do I contribute to this? What's my part in this? That's also a sign maybe to look at. The other thing is when you're like so close with the person that you don't know where you start and this person starts and where you end and this person ends. It's just this big blur of not really understanding the me. I'm separate from you, right? Almost being too close. That's also could be a sign that there is some enmeshment and codependency happening. So people pleasing, if you notice that that's kind of how you operate in life, that also tends to be highly associated with codependency traits as well. Also, not be able to separate your feelings from somebody else's feelings, right? If they're sad, you feel sad, not in a way of like, I have empathy for you and I can feel that sadness, but it's almost like whatever is their stressor, it's happening with you. And there is no healthy separation at all to look at. This is a loved one, I'm sad that they're sad versus it's happening with me. An example would be if someone's going through, a breakup and you feel like you're also going through breakup with that person because, and you have your own feelings, but how could they do this, as if it's happening to you versus my friend just went through a breakup. and I feel his pain and so on. I want to support him, right? That would be different. So yeah, those are the standard sort of signs to look at. But it's a lot more nuanced like that. There's usually also a lot of relational anxiety, making sure that that person stays. There's a fear of being left or that person leaving your life. So you will do everything to kind of keep that relationship going, even if it's unhealthy, even if you're unhappy. You might complain and make threats, but not really act on it and stay in that relationship.
I really appreciate the visualization that you started with, because when we're looking at our relationships and we're looking at our friends and our family, we notice that maybe one person is someone that we're really focused on. And like you said, we're struggling to separate our emotions from them, separate ourselves from them, feeling like we're going through everything they're going through and this fear that they're going to leave us. So now we are focused on meeting their needs and doing everything they need or that we think they need so that they'll stay in our lives and they'll be there the way we want them to be there. And it's really hard to see it without that visualization, right? Because when you can actually literally draw a circle and look at what's important to you, how much time and energy are you expending on different things, and if there is one person that's coming up a lot and it's really impacting a lot of your life, your ability to care for yourself, to meet your own actual needs, it's really a relationship to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it, like that a lot of times with codependency traits, we are so fearful of being abandoned by this other person, or losing the relationship, that we don't realize that we are actually abandoning ourselves through that process. Lack of self-care, lack of honoring what's important for us, right? And just sending ourselves the message that we don't matter. We come last on our list.
Yes, and like you said, that goes back to people pleasing and how common it is to want to make everyone else happy and make that one person so happy that we forget about ourselves. That, like you said, we put ourselves last. And
Mhm.
when we do that for so long, I mean, it can be hard to even recognize ourselves and understand who we are and what we want and what our values are. And
Yeah.
then if that relationship doesn't last, right? If something changes in that relationship and we don't know who we are without them and feel like we can't stand on our own 2 feet, it can be really, really scary and overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me of this quote that I saw. I have no idea who said it. It was a long time ago, but that was such a good representation of what happens in, that codependency dynamic. The quote said, don't make, and I'm paraphrasing, but don't make someone your everything, because if they leave, you have nothing, right?
Mhm.
It's if they're the whole chart, the whole pie, then they go, you feel like you said, you can't feel stable. Like, who am I without this person? And that's actually a thing too with people who have some codependency traits. When they start their work on their healing journey and try to focus on themselves, a lot of times it's a struggle because they don't know who they are, what they like, and so on. Because that is something that you explore in your childhood and you find out. And if you were in a survival mode in your childhood, trying to be accepted and loved, and just learned to scan the environment to see who they want me to be, that's who I'm going to be. That really wasn't the time for you to sit there and explore what you like and what you don't like. You sort of took in, like, this is what I like because you like this, and this is what, you know, um, I'm going to be because you want me to be this. It's like that old movie, Coming to America. I don't know if you've seen that scene where he's he has his bride and he's like, so trying to get to know her. And what do you like? Whatever you like, and she's just asking these questions and she's just like, whatever you like, whatever you want, so it's kind of like that, in the sense that, um, in a healthy relationship, there's two whole people meeting, right? And they might have common interests and they might have things that they also like together, right? And they're separate because they are their own people. They have their own values. They have their own hobbies and interests, and they add to each other's lives versus, this blurred situation, codependency, where I don't know who I am and you don't know who you are, but we're scared to be apart, right? That's different.
That's such a powerful reminder of we're allowed to be our own person. And a lot of times it's kind of been idealized that a relationship is about two people becoming one, and you're able to still be your own separate person and have a lot of things in common and things you enjoy to do together. But you're
Mm.
also allowed to have things that are different that you enjoy doing on your own. And it doesn't have to be that all or nothing situation.
Yeah, exactly. It can be all or nothing, and balance, which balance is never achieved in the sense of like I got the balance and now I'm there and it's good, right? It's constantly, there to be achieved. It's we're constantly working towards getting to that balance, right? Um, so I think every time we think, generally speaking, every time we think in all or nothing terms, that's not really healthy. We want to be more psychologically flexible and be somewhere in the middle.
Yes, it's so important to that's something I do. I'm not black or white, all or nothing thinking. I'm
Mhm.
working on it. People love to point it out to me every day, and I'm like, I know, working on it slowly. But
Yeah.
for guys, at least it's awareness, I guess.
Yeah.
Step
Yeah.
one.
With progress, it's not so much about like, I did this, I did the work, and that's all good. We usually have this patterns also for like the rest of our lives. It's just recognizing and like, I know I have this and I'm going to choose a different thing now. Right. So I'm working on it constantly as it comes up.
Yes. So
Mhm.
for people listening, maybe looking at their own relationships and reflecting on it now, am I in a codependent relationship? Am I struggling with some of these warning signs? How may it present itself in current adult relationships?
So repeat that question. Well,
How may codependency present itself in current adult relationships?
mhm. Yeah, so oftentimes what that can look like, for example, in couples therapy is two partners who aren't happy with one another, and not in a sense of like we have conflict, because everybody has conflict, right? Even couples who are doing really well and get along really well normally and respect and honor and love each other can have conflict. I'm talking more about there's really nothing when we kind of are honest with ourselves that um, is is helping me stay with this person. Like I don't even like them anymore. We have different values. Their behavior is so problematic, whatever that may be, and it's not changing. Um, and partners feel this way, and they feel hopeless, and they feel disappointed and sad, um, and kind of giving up on the relationship, even the possibility of it working, because they see that this person might not change. And how they are is not something that's going to make them happy for the rest of their lives. And yet they cannot leave the relationship. So, one thing that's very common in this unhealthy dynamic is the inability to end the relationship too. Sometimes partners can stay in relationships way too long, past the expiration date, out of fear of being alone. That's another thing, right? With codependency, you may have a fear of being alone. And you might be in an unhealthy, toxic relationship because you think, well, at least I'm in a relationship. At least I'm not alone. But that's an illusion because you can be in a relationship and feel so alone,
Yeah.
right? You can be single and feel fulfilled because you're pursuing your dreams, your hobbies, your interests. You have friends who meet different needs. And you're also closer to finding that right person because you're available, right? Rather than being stuck in an unhealthy relationship. So that kind of what it looks like with couples when they're just, unhappy. And the other thing is it's not just the unhappiness, but also the refusal to work on yourself. Right. Like I'm pointing fingers at my partner because like if only he could change, blah, blah, blah. He's pointing fingers at me, like, if you only, and then we're at it over and over and over and over again, will that actually either, okay, let me change myself and work on myself, or let me leave this relationship. So that difference from, healthy relationships where there may be conflict and then be moments where I don't like my partner because they, did something that I'm like, I don't even like you today, right? But overall, in healthy relationships, there is this deep sense of knowing that this relationship adds value to my life, that I feel respected, and overall, I like my partner. There's the sense of friendship. There is the sense of, looking towards the same direction in life. And then they can manage conflict as it comes up. And they can have moments when they're like, I can't even look at you. I don't like you right now. That's fine, but in a toxic way, that's the norm.
Relationships should make you feel loved and needed and valued and important. It shouldn't be that you're chasing it, that you are so desperate to feel that need, that feeling of being needed and loved, and that everything that's being done is their fault. And if they would just change, but I'm not willing to look inward at all and see if there's anything that I can change and adapt and have that healthy communication and those boundaries, it's really, really difficult. So for someone who is listening and realizing maybe I am living with codependency and it's impacting my current relationship, but I want to begin to work on it, what are some steps they can take?
I would really encourage starting with individual therapy. And you can also do couples therapy because, again, codependency is something that can be worked through in couples therapy as well if you have two partners who are willing to do the work. So I think therapy can be really, really helpful. It's something that might be hard to come out of on your own. So I think while there is amazing books out there on codependency and things like that, I think therapy might be needed to really learn the tools you need, but also clear out that past that taught you to be a certain way. That's what kind of it all goes to. It's not about forcing yourself to get some hobbies to be like, see, I'm not codependent because I just signed up for a swimming class and I just signed up for tennis classes, right? It needs to be authentic, right? And the way it can be authentic is really unlearning what you learned early in childhood, which is that what is my role as a human being, right? And sometimes the role is to take care of others, is to, if someone is in need, you need to go fix that problems. Like that was a defense mechanism early on, and it's no longer working for you. So how do you let go of that? So I would say, it's amazing to read books. There's lots of information, first like get aware about what that is, podcasts, things like that. But you can understand what it is. And then seek professional help with someone who specializes in this. And that way you can get on this journey on your own time and at your own pace to do the healing.
Yes, therapy can be such a great tool to help you get to that root cause, to understand where it's coming from. So, like you said, you can begin to unlearn those behaviors and that mindset and those cognitive processes. Why do I believe this? What do I believe? What am I saying to myself? And how can I begin to reframe it? Also, how can I begin to regulate my own emotions, to communicate what I need and practice actually receiving it? Because when you're so used to always having to be everything for everyone or feel like you need to be doing everything for everyone, it can be really hard to start switching to that mindset of, I deserve my needs to be met too. And also building boundaries and learning how to respect other people's boundaries. Therapy is really, really great to help you learn a lot of these tools and more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important piece in finding a therapist, having that safe connection with that person. In that way, you can freely explore all of this.
Yes, finding the therapist that's right for you. As we are wrapping up, how can people learn more about you and see if you're a good fit for them?
So the best way to learn about our services more is visit our website, www.mytherapycorner.com, all one word, My Therapy Corner. We also post a lot of helpful free resources and information on our Instagram page. Same name, same handle, My Therapy Corner. Same with Facebook, My Therapy Corner. You can contact us through the contact form on our website, or just email us at info@mytherapycorner.com. But yeah, if you go to our website, that's the best way to contact us. And if you want free resources, I'd say Facebook and Instagram at My Therapy Corner.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.